I had the good fortune, guys, of growing up in the 80s and watching Jordan struggle and really go 1 for 9 in his first 10 playoff games and then be unable to get by the Pistons for 3 years. And then finally, when the Pistons are broken and done and the Celtics are toast and the Lakers, Magic retires and Jabbar retires, yeah, that's when Jordan started to dominate. The idea that Kevin Durant and LeBron and Kawhi Leonard couldn't go back in the 80s and 90s and absolutely eviscerate the league is total lunacy. And I don't get it. Maybe you guys can help me understand. In baseball, we do not do this at all. You don't have any media saying, oh, well, Steve Carlton was so good. I mean, nobody now could touch Steve Carlton. Fernando Valenzuela, I mean, he would be undefeated with an ERA of 1.0 right now. We don't do this. We don't do this in baseball. And in football, come on. You know we don't do this. We don't say, oh, these running backs, these wide receivers of the 80s and 90s were way better. Way better than Megatron and Randy Moss, Larry Fitzgerald. Oh, come on, that guy Steve Largent with the 1 bar on his face mask. Now that's a football. We don't do this. Nobody says Joe Montana would come into the 2000s and dominate, but Tom Brady couldn't go back in the 80s and dominate. Nobody does that. So we don't do this in baseball. And we don't do this in football. Why do we do it in basketball? What the hell is wrong with the NBA media and the NBA players? Are they so insecure? Is Charles Barkley so insecure in his own manhood that he's willing to carry water from Michael Jordan 2 decades later to constantly ding the Warriors, to constantly ding the jump shooting Warriors? Oh, they couldn't play in the 80s and 90s. I mean, listen, guys, I grew up in the 80s and 90s loving Magic Johnson and saying, man, Larry Bird, I can't like him, but I respect that dude's game. They're not on the athletic level that LeBron and Kawhi and Kevin Durant are. I'm sorry. That's a fact. No, you can't. The athletes of now are vastly superior to the athletes of the 80s. That's undeniable, guys. I mean, Mike Wilbon, it's like he's chasing likes and retweets with this Jordan nonsense. I'm embarrassed for him. And then he's coming out and saying, oh, Michael Jordan would average 45 points a game and win all the titles. No, he would not. Would he average a lot of points? Sure. Trae Young is in, what year is Trae Young in? His second year, third year? He's 21. He's averaging like 29 points a game. And the Hawks are winning 20 games maybe. 18, 20 games, whatever it is. Trae Young in his second year is averaging 30 points a game. The idea that Trae Young couldn't go back to the 80s and put up Isaiah Thomas numbers is dumb. Yeah, I know the rules were a little different, but guess what? Trae Young can shoot from near midcourt with pretty good accuracy. You're telling me Damian Lillard wouldn't put up 30 in a heartbeat in the 1980s? What? What are we doing? And it's just bizarre to me that guys that, I respect Mike Wilbon. I've been a fan of his work forever. This idea that these guys can't go back and dominate is crazy. Guys, I've tried to hammer this home over the last month. Michael Jordan dominated, guys, in the expansion era. Look at the numbers. They're undeniable. It's inarguable. From 1988 to 1995, 6 teams were added to the NBA. What happens when you expand to Vancouver and add 6 franchises, the Miami Heat? You're diluting the talent pool. You add 6 franchises in a 7-year span, and yeah, you're going to have a lot of brand new guys who probably shouldn't be in the NBA. Now, I know what you're going to say. I already know the pushback. Well, Jason, they're letting kids come from the high school and 1 year out of college now. Yeah, you're right. No, that's happening. And guess what? They've also been playing AAU basketball, and they're way better than the kids were when they were 12 in 1983. Okay? Basketball has gotten global. How many Europeans were in the league in the 1980s and dominating? Luka Doncic is an MVP candidate in his second year. He was a teenager, guys. What are we doing? This idea that guys can't go from the 2000s and the current era and go back to the 80s and absolutely eviscerate the NBA is really dumb. And it's hurting the basketball discussion online. NBA Twitter is a joke. It's laughed at. NBA players know it's pathetic. You guys got to step up your game. I'm telling you guys, you look at and Gavin, I'll leave you on this note because I've gone on a bit of a rant. You take the Clippers, who I don't even know if they're going to win a title this year. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and you put them up against the Celtics from 1986. Who's winning that series? This is a Boston team that won the title with Bird and McHale and Parrish and DJ and Danny Ainge against this Clipper team with Kawhi Leonard, because you know he's going to guard Larry Bird. Nobody locks down Larry Bird, but Kawhi Leonard's one of the best defensive players of this generation, right? And then you get Paul George, who, if Kawhi's tired on Bird, you put Paul George on. Paul George is a really, really good player, all NBA player. You're telling me these Clippers wouldn't have a chance against the Celtics? Gavin,
that's an all-time team, the 86 Celtics.
All-time team.
They
beat the Rockets with the Twin Towers.
My thing is, if you change the current players and put them in that era, you have to do the same to the old players. So they would adapt that three-point shooting game that they didn't have back then.
And I'm glad you brought that up. The Celtics in 1986 in the finals shot 34 three-pointers in the entire series. That's it. A series with 34 three-pointers. Remember, famously, the Rockets missed 27 threes in a row in Game 7. Missed 27! The Celtics attempt. So, on some level, yes, it's dumb to compare across eras because of the rule changes and the three-pointer. But it's fun also. It's really fun. And I don't mean to go after Wilbon, and I don't want you guys tweeting at him. But I just had to start with, come on. I like this GOAT discussion, but let's have some civility. Let's have some sanity. And let's not go over the top protecting our tribe. People think I'm going after LeBron. I'm getting a lot of heat on Instagram and Twitter for, you're defending LeBron, man. You're going after him, trying to put him above Jordan. No, I'm just trying to balance things out. Everybody on planet Earth is screaming nonsense about Michael Jordan. And I'm just trying to balance things out. I still believe Jordan narrowly over LeBron for now. But I want to balance things out, so we had one Chicago guy in. Now we're going to bring in another former Michael Jordan teammate. His name is BJ Armstrong. He's an Iowa Hawkeye legend. BJ Armstrong. He's joined me on, I think we've done some TV together. BJ Armstrong, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm great. I know you're in high demand right now. First of all, let me ask, are you watching The Last Dance with your kids? Are you watching it solo? What's the setup for you?
Well, I'm watching it and having an opportunity to. It's fun to see the response of the younger generation. I have a 19-year-old, 16-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So to watch, with my two older kids and see their response has been amazing. And because they never got a chance to see Michael play, they never saw me play. So it's been great to watch and hear the response of the younger generation. And to see, oh wow, okay, I didn't know this, and so it's been good. It's I just find it fascinating that we have an opportunity, and I think Michael, I think he did it right. He's using this opportunity to answer the questions for the next generation.
Okay, wait, hold up, BJ, I gotta stop you there. What you think he did it right? So. He has final say over everything that goes into this, right? He's kind of telling the story he
storytelling,
wants.
Look, we can go into the storytelling and so forth and so on, but what I do think is he's giving you an inside look of the dedication that it takes, the commitment that it takes to really develop and arrive at your full potential. Now, all of the storytelling and all those things, look, it's a subjective thing. We can say a lot of different things.
Yes.
But what I do admire is that when you see someone that makes this type of dedication to a career or something that they love to do, that they should be able to express that however they want to express it, other than other people telling what makes this person great. So I respect that because Michael has never shared this information with anyone.
Right.
He doesn't do interviews. So so many kids that I work with now, what I currently do, and what was it like to play with Michael Jordan? Well, what better person to hear than yourself? And then you come to your own conclusion. That, to me, is what I respect most about this documentary.
I would say the only issue I have is, I got kids too. My son is 9, my daughter's 7. And my son actually asked me, did Michael Jordan ever miss a shot? Because as you're watching this, BJ, it's like a Jordan highlight reel. It's like the guy never failed. Now, I know that they showed the Pistons, and you were a rookie on the team when they lost the 7 games to the Pistons. And, of course, the year after that, you guys broke through. But can I start? I want to start with questions for you. Is it going to be pointed, okay? I tweeted this out. It went viral, and I got a lot of heat, okay? BJ Armstrong, true or false? Michael Jordan needed a system, the triangle, before he could succeed, right? And he needed Pippen and Phil Jackson. He needed that system. Anywhere LeBron goes, he is the system, right? He was the system in Cleveland. Then he went to Miami. He was the system. Now he's at the Lakers. He is the system. It all flows through at LeBron. Is that not a true statement?
No, Michael Jordan was a standalone player. It's not many standalone players. When I say standalone, it didn't matter what system or what play. A lot of players that come in this league need certain things, right? They need, every player, with the exception that I've seen, is, Michael. Every player has, holes or faults in their game. Right, he was a standalone. It didn't matter what system and what he was doing because he was going to find a way. So winning and losing and all of those things, that wasn't the essence of who he was. He attacked the game as if the game was always 0-0, because not only was he the best offensive player, right, which we're talking about here, he was the best defensive player. Defense doesn't require you to have a system. It's the only thing that requires you to do that is for you as the player to provide the effort and energy necessary. So talking about offensive systems and all of those things, Michael didn't care. He made the game a 0-0 game. It was a 0-0 sum for him because if he didn't score and you didn't score, the score was always 0-0. Okay. So the offensive scheme and all of those things didn't matter. But it will matter to a player who's not a true standalone player because they can't dominate the game on the defensive end.
We're talking with BJ Armstrong, former Chicago Bulls guard. I guess the reason I said that was could not break through past the Celtics or the Pistons. Phil and Tex Winter institute the triangle. Scotty grows up a little bit, and that's when the breakthrough happened. Like, that's why I say the triangle helped Michael. Now, he had to make some sacrifices in his game, go from scoring 37, down to 30, 31 or whatever, and pass a little bit more to the likes of you and Paxson and Kerr. It's not a knock to say he thrived in the triangle, but that was the only time he won championships.
Well, yeah, I can understand how, it would look and it would appear to be that way, but in actuality, when you break down the technical aspects of the game, the reason that the triangle offense is important, and since we're talking about the offense, is because most people really don't understand what the offense did. So a triangle offense is really, people think it's really an offense where we're just talking about the offensive concepts, right, of Pippen and all of these things. It's not that at all. What Phil Jackson really was is he was a phenomenal defensive coach. So the offense actually provided us the defensive balance that we needed to always play the game at 0-0. If the game was always 0-0, our talent would win the game. So what we needed from Michael with this system, if you will, was we needed Michael to stop playing the game. There is no, when you're playing championship caliber basketball, you have to win the games and rely on your defense, right? It's the old cliche, defense wins championships. Mm-hmm. We knew we had a superior offensive player if we could just get him to stop playing offensive basketball. We needed him to dominate the game in which the game matters most. We got to get stops. You have to depend on your defense to win. So when you watch the Warriors get a lot of recognition. They get a lot of publicity for what they do on the offensive end. Secretly, Steve Kerr is a terrific defensive coach. They are one of the best defensive teams in the league. They've had a defensive player in Draymond Green. Klay Thompson is a phenomenal defensive player, Andre Iguodala, so forth and so on. You look at Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard now is probably the predominant defensive player in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's why you win in this league. And that's what the offense did. So when you talk about Michael Jordan, you have to understand the principles of a sound offense, right? You can have one of the guiding principles, which was in Tex Winters, who was one of the architects of this offense. It said you have to abide by the principles. It has to create an opportunity for you to penetrate the defense by one of three ways: with the pass, with the dribble, or with the shot. And because you are always in balance, you constantly have a way to penetrate the defense. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan could do that. The team could do that, and we were always in position. So even if we were able to just throw up a shot, Dennis Rodman, Horace Grant, Cliff Livingston, all those guys were always in position. We were always in position to take away what you're going to do on the offensive end, because we were always in the position on the defensive end. So it was way more sophisticated than just saying this was an offense. If it was that simple, other teams would be able to do it. They can't do it because they don't understand truly what it is. It's a defense that's designed around these offensive principles, and one of the principles is how are you going to penetrate their defense so that you can always dictate what's going on.
Talking with BJ Armstrong, former Bulls point guard. All right, BJ, some guys are coming out now and saying, hey, man, there's no players today in the NBA who could go into the 80s and 90s and dominate. Now, I know you were in high school in the 80s and, Iowa Star in the 90s. But this idea that LeBron and Curry and Giannis and Kawhi could not dominate the 80s, to me, is embarrassing. And it's just stupid and reductive. You played in the league in the 90s. I mean, BJ Armstrong, come on. You're telling me guys in today's NBA couldn't go back there and dominate the way they are now?
Well, when you say dominate, right? And let's take the 80s. The Lakers went to the finals 8 out of the 10 years in the 80s.
Right.
Okay. So the domination was very small, right? There was, 3 franchises that actually won in the 80s alone. So you're talking about the Lakers, the Sixers, the Celtics, and then Detroit got one in 89.
Yeah.
In the 90s, you were talking the Bulls got 6, the Pistons got 1, so that's 7. Houston got 2. And then who am I missing? Am I missing the Lakers maybe in 99? Who am I? Someone I'm missing.
I think the Spurs beat the Knicks.
Yeah, the
maybe
Spurs or something like that.
But again, that was with player movement was restricted.
But when you say dominate, right, it takes a very rare talent to dominate. It takes a very rare talent. It takes a standalone talent. And what you're seeing with all of these teams is how special it is, right? You have to have a Magic Johnson and a Kareem. You have to have a Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. You have to have a Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. You have to have an Akeem Olajuwon, who is just, these are just amazing players. I don't know if you can dominate. Do I think they will be good players? Yes. When you start saying dominate, right, that's a massive word because, Tim Duncan is a standalone player. I don't.
What's Giannis? Giannis is not a standalone player?
Giannis is still finding his way in this league, right? You can't win in this league. You can't win and be a dominating player until you have a consistent jump shot.
Let's take a more established guy. Player. How about this, BJ? Look, Kevin Durant. Okay. Could Kevin Durant, who has MVP, Finals MVP, leading scorer, blah, 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 could Kevin Durant dominate in the 80s the way he's doing today?
Dominate.
You got to think about this, BJ.
When you say dominate, but what you're saying is when you say dominate, what you're saying is, do I think Kevin Durant would average 25, 30 points? Absolutely.
Yeah. Wouldn't he be a top 5 guy in the league in the 80s and 90s? He would be a top 3.
When I think dominate in that era, you had to win. When I think dominate, you had to win. Look, there are a lot of great players that could score a lot of points, right? Alex English, all these players.
Yeah.
There are a lot of players who scored a lot of points. There are excellent players all around. When you say dominate, though, dominate means you got to win, right? Charles Barkley was arguably one of the most dominant players ever, right? But that doesn't mean that you actually, in that era, you had to not only win, not only score a lot of points and do things individually, but you had to win. That was the criteria
but
for that.
nobody's
I'm not
won.
comparing.
Yeah, I'm with
I'm
you,
not
but
saying
nobody's
that
won.
Kevin Durant is going to score points.
Right.
We saw Kevin Durant before Kevin Durant. He might have been George Gervin. George Gervin could score a lot of points, but does that mean he was a dominant player
James Harden,
in that sense?
yeah, James Harden right now is 80s Michael Jordan, right? Scoring a bunch of points and not winning anything.
I don't know if you could say that.
Well, I mean, offensively he is. He's scoring 35 a game. But Michael Jordan didn't win anything in the 80s. He just he scored a bunch of points, couldn't get out of the first round against in the mid 80s. You need teammates. I mean, I'm surprised you're with Mike Wilbon on this, BJ. I mean, you're telling me if you put
it's just what the game is, right? The game is, I can't just say, well, this guy scored 30, this guy scored 30, they're the same. No, Michael, if you watch him, everything he did was in less than 3 or 4 dribbles. So the efficiency in which he was able to catch the ball, where he was catching the ball, how he played the game, things he did is quite different than James Harden. James Harden scores a lot of points, but not like Michael Jordan scored them. So they're not the same player, even though they played the same position. Michael Jordan, in essence, was a 6'6" center because he always caught the ball below the free throw line. James Harden doesn't do that. James Harden is a one-on-one player who plays the game from a different operating area. Now, in the end, you look at the end results and you look at the score sheet and you go, well, he had 30 and this guy had 30. But when you look at the technical aspect of the game, no, that's not the case.
Well, certainly. I mean, when you break it down, yeah, and it's different eras. Like, people didn't dribble at the three-point line in the 80s.
Nowhere near.
Defensively,
James Harden is a great player. Yeah. James Harden is a great player in his own right. But James Harden is not the same player as Michael Jordan, even though they may look the same.
I mean, offensively,
they're not the same player.
Well, okay, but I'm saying Jordan in the 80s basically is what James Harden offensively is in the 90s. A scoring machine who can't get to the finals, right?
I can understand where you're coming from, but technically speaking, no, they're nowhere near the same. Just from a technical viewpoint, they're not the same player. They don't play the same.
Well, yeah, nobody plays the same except Kobe and Jordan, right? That Kobe basically mimicked Jordan to the point of, there's that video I'm sure you've seen on social media where essentially, half the video is here's Michael Jordan starting his move and here's Kobe finishing it. Because Kobe copied his game identically. But other than that, nobody copies anybody's game. Like, there's nobody in the 80s who could replicate LeBron's game. I mean, 6'8", 255, 260. Like, there's just no, like, Scottie Pippen was 225. Like, I know he's a great defender, an all-time great defender. The idea that he's going to shut down LeBron is laughable. Like, there's just nobody we've ever seen in the league like LeBron. He's built like Karl Malone and has the speed of John Wall. That doesn't exist anywhere. And that was, I'll get the final question for you. Jordan dominated a league full of centers in the 90s. The league was, Patrick Ewing was 25 and 12. Olajuwon, as you said, David Robinson. The league was not built around wings in the 90s. The league now, BJ, you know this. You rep a lot of players. The best players in the league right now are wings. LeBron, Kawhi, Paul George, two-way guys on the wing who can guard bigs and hit threes. I think in the current league right now, Michael Jordan would have his hands full trying to get past these incredible wings. Of course, Jordan is going to average 30 a game, but the league now has many more better wing defenders. I mean, you look at that 98 finals, BJ. Michael Jordan tore apart Jeff Hornacek, Brian Russell, and Shandon Anderson. None of those guys ever made an all-defensive team. They couldn't hold a candle to the wing defenders in the league right now. I mean, don't you think the wing defenders now are much better than Jordan ever faced in the 80s or 90s?
Respectfully, I have to disagree because I know the physicality of the game back then as compared to now. So, what those teams were doing back in the 80s and the 90s, they had to play against the physicality of the game was there was hand checking involved.
Yeah.
So now making that argument and telling me that the wing players today are going to be able to contain someone who is used to playing with a different level of physicality. No. Joe Dumars was a master defender. He really was. He was a massive defender. His footwork, his base, he was strong, he was physical, he was quick. He had all of the things that you want to do as a defensive player, but you can't do that today. So today's defender the offensive players today have a significant advantage because you can't touch them. You can't guard them. So that is what brought about when you try to defend today, you have to defend more with the team. So most of the teams, when you watch a game, their end play is always the same, which is screen roll. And that's why the Warriors are such a incredible team, is because they are the one team where their center, when they move Draymond Green to the center position, he is actually a better on-ball defender than the person that's being set on the screen. So he's probably one of the only players in the league where you actually want the team to run a screen roll so that they can get their best defender on the ball in the waning seconds of a shot clock. So do I think that would be the case if Michael was playing today? Absolutely not, because we couldn't defend him when we can put both of our hands on him, let alone any hand. And he, I'm trying to think of all the players who have won, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he was able to do this. So the energy that he was expending on both ends of the floor, night in and night out, it's unparalleled, right? It's unparalleled what he was doing because he could dominate, and his partner in crime, Scottie Pippen, was just as good. I mean, you're talking about another guy who was first team all defender, or an all defensive player, and they could dominate on the wings like no other tandem that we've seen. I mean, they were just that good on the defensive end. And then, by the way, this guy is virtually unstoppable on the offensive end because he's really a 6'6" center. Yeah. So that is a difficult combination to prepare for, and no one has played the game like he has played because he was doing something no one has done since. Yeah. Michael Jordan really canceled out the center position because he became a 6'6" center when no one else knew what he was really doing. But we always knew. And if you watch him play, he always caught the ball below the free throw line with a live dribble. So he was a center that was actually 6'6" and could do things around the floor. He could catch the ball anywhere on the floor when necessary because he was skilled enough to do it. And every player will tell you who plays the game, whether it's this year or in previous years, the difficulty of being able to operate everywhere on the floor, like everyone has their favorite places that they move for. This guy could play full court. He could play half court. He could play from the center. He could play from the elbow. He could play mid-range. He could shoot threes. He could do it all. No one has been that complete as a player. Yeah. No one. And anyone who's playing the game will tell you that he is the most complete player because he was doing everything. Yeah. We all have our favorite things and operating areas and things that we can do, but no one has been as complete of a player as him from every offensive position on the floor. And that's just the facts. It's not like an opinion about it. It's just the difficulty of playing. He figured out how to do everything exceptionally well.
Good stuff. BJ Armstrong, former Bulls guard. We're going to have you back, BJ. I love this. Back and forth.
Thank you.
Really fun.